Hello, it's Alexa here with Kelowna Now, and I'm sitting down with Mandy and Chantel, and we are here to talk about, 15 minutes on something that's really important. And it's not always the easiest or fun conversation. But Mandy, can you start us off? Why are we here and what are we sitting down to talk about?
Sure. Well, we both work for the Central Okanagan Elizabeth Fry Society here in Kelowna. And we're here today to talk about a campaign that we're running in honor of Prevention of Violence Against Women Week, which happens every year in BC. So it's April 20th to the 26th. And around that week, we have launched a campaign called Purple for Prevention. And it's essentially a call to action to wear purple this Thursday, to wear a purple ribbon or any purple item of clothing, to really start a conversation and stand in solidarity for women's safety in our community. So our organization supports survivors of intimate partner violence, sexual assault, and child abuse in this community. And we wanted to run this campaign to really start a bigger conversation around what we're seeing, just the prevalence of violence against women in this community, and to get people more involved in this act of solidarity and donating to support really critical services for survivors.
So, why did we choose purple? Is there a reason behind the purple today or on that we're going to be wearing on Thursday?
Yeah, purple is actually a pretty widely known color associated with domestic violence awareness and also violence against women.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, can you explain to people? I think it's such a sometimes a hard topic and it can get people emotional. Some women don't want to talk about it, some kids don't want to talk about it. But can you tell us a little bit about like what is, like you said, sexual abuse? Does this also mean like emotional abuse? Like, can you kind of, sum up abuse?
Sure. So my name's Chantel Banman, and I'm the executive director for the Central Okanagan Elizabeth Fry Society. And I think that's a really good question. A lot of people think if I don't have bruises, he only slapped me. It's not abuse. But these are power-based, anything power-based, where you feel your voice is being stifled or your rights are being stepped on or you're being controlled. I know people sometimes will feel maybe nervous to call that abuse, but if you are feeling like your voice is not safe to be heard and you're not being validated, there could be elements of abuse in the relationship. And there's been a lot of studies around coercive control. That's been a bit of a hot topic. And there are stats saying right now that people in coercive control relationships are actually at higher risk of death from their partners, even more so than people that live with maybe physical abuse every day. So you can't just discredit different kinds of abuse thinking that it's not that bad.
So, I think offline we were talking about how the stats seem like they're growing, but I think maybe people are just starting to speak up and talk about abuse. Do you have some stats that you can tell us or share that what you're seeing in our community?
For sure. I think it's important to understand our service area because we're covering from Lake Country, Oyama, to Peachland through Kelowna. So if you think about the service area and the stats that I would say about 80% of abuse is not reported.
80?
80.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Really, it's over 80. Yeah.
So our stats this year alone, we have 1,400 active files. So those are files that we've done an intake and we're currently working either whether it's through court or getting people supported in community with referrals. And the split in that is I'll have a better report when it comes to our final end of the year. but generally it's about 50-50 between sexual assault and intimate partner violence. And I think over 700 of those 1,400 files are new files, meaning these are brand new people coming forward. They're not people we've seen in the past. And that's 1,400. Like, I really
that we
try
know
to-
of.
that we know of,
Yeah.
you know, and that have been reported. And we also do brief services, so people that call and they're just looking for information, or it might be a referral to counseling, and victim services is not necessarily going to be the, you know, forefront of their support team. So those numbers are much higher. And
Yeah, I think they were actually in the past year over 9,000
yeah.
Oh, it makes
for
me
brief
sick.
services, which, yeah, is pretty mind-blowing.
And like abuse can be seen in all genders, but we were talking offline that is mostly women. And are you seeing lots of children as well?
We do. If you have an interest in our stats, I think looking at our website, because we'll have our community report that we do every year, and we really try to do a bit more of a breakdown of the stats. And this year we've moved up in the world from paper files, which many of us really love the paper files.
Yeah.
But one thing is,
You can move faster, you can get more done.
you know,
Yeah.
it's quick.
Yeah.
It's so nice. But having this database, I can pull reports and really break down kind of demographics and information that I want. So this year we'll have a very broad, no, not broad, but a better,
detailed,
a more detailed
yeah.
breakdown of the stats, because we can do ages, genders, and even like where referrals are coming from. So we have community-based victim services. So our referrals come direct from RCMP, otherwise self-referrals and from community.
That was going to be one of my questions. So for people that are sitting here, you know, maybe they're scrolling through social media and they see us a little bit on their clips or something. For women that are sitting there too scared to report something, do you guys have, I know you guys have services and we'll talk about that in a second, but I would say if I was suffering from abuse, which I mean, I actually think it's more normal, like I have suffered from sexual abuse. And I think if we stood in a room with multiple people and they were willing to share, I think the stats would be way higher.
Of course.
Absolutely.
And that might not be all sexual, but, you know, physical or something like that.
Yeah.
So for someone sitting there, how, like I don't think I would want to call the police or report it to the police, or I've heard bad stories of, you know, male cops or all these kind of things. So what would your suggestion to be to a female that is sitting there scared, not sure what to do? Like, so can they reach out to you guys directly, or what are your options? What are your paths?
Absolutely, can be just a phone call. And I would actually suggest that in a lot of cases. And the reason being, reporting is very important. And if you're in danger, like 911, 100%. If this is something you've been living with and you feel like the risk is, you know, where, I don't know, maybe you have a quiet moment and you're contemplating and you would just like to have some answers. The reason why I say it's important to call is because number one is safety planning. And sometimes calling RCMP, and this is no shade to RCMP, but they're tied to their systems that they have to work within. So if they're responding, and even if there's an arrest, there's likely a release. And the release could be on conditions that they're not allowed to come back. But you know that person better than anybody else, and are they going to come back? So now your risk is actually heightened. So speaking to a victim service worker can really mitigate those risks and really go through, like, let's look at your safety plan. What does it look like when you report? You know, what are some things that we should consider?
Yeah.
So I would definitely reach out.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and so important for anyone in the
Yeah.
community to know that you don't have to report to access our
Mhm.
services, that you
Okay.
can come and get help, that
Mhm.
reporting's a personal choice as well,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And some people do and some people don't,
Yeah.
but you can always access help through our organization, regardless of whether you're going to report or not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
reach out to you guys and you could work out your plan
Mhm.
of how to get safe. Or do you guys offer, like, for the abuser, do you have services to help with them? They're like counseling, or like is it mostly protecting the person that's being abused?
Yeah, so being victim services, it's
Yeah.
around protecting the person, but that's not to say that we don't also see the extreme benefits around prevention and working with the accused
Yeah.
as well. It's just not really something that we're offering right now, but recognizing like there's a holistic approach for a lot of these things. Counseling, relationship counseling is something that when there's a power-based crime or an issue in the relationship, counseling is not necessarily a safe option either. So, but separating that person, if they want help, there's resources out there for them. But you have to want it for it to work, right? You have to have the insight to be able to recognize there's a problem.
Not to put you both on the spot here, and
Oh,
feel free
boy.
to hit next, but like, is there a reason why you both are involved in something like this, or you're so passionate about this? Like, do you have family members? Have you become from an abusive family? Like, why are you two sitting here doing what you're doing to help other women and children?
You know, speaking for myself, I've always been really passionate about women's rights throughout my entire life. And absolutely, I know several people in my friend group, in my family, my colleagues who have been abused, and some have sought help and accessed help, and others have not. And I think it's something that it impacts the trajectory of your entire life. And even working for Elizabeth Fry Society, when I started working with this organization, I had no idea the prevalence of this happening in our own backyard. I had no clue. And still, so many people I speak to in this community and in this city aren't aware of our services, don't know we exist. And it's just, there's so much stigma around it as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be hard to talk about, but I just think that everyone needs to not be afraid of this conversation. And it needs to be something that people talk about, because more of us than we're even aware of have experienced this. So,
well, yeah, and maybe if people start talking or asking questions, we'd be able to like help more people.
That's right. That's right. For myself, I've been working for feminist organizations, nonprofit, for over 20 years now. But when I started, I had no idea what I was walking into and the change that it would have just in my personal life. And I think that that's what's kept me here. So I grew up in a very, it was a very violent home, and roles between, men, women were very, very defined. And I struggled with that. And I think through that, it was really hard for me to have a voice, find a voice. And when I got the job working at a transition house, I had a law background, and I realized that was the first time where I felt like things were collaborative and that people were there supporting and hearing each other. And I was never able to look back from that. And connection is number one in healing. I really believe that. And even when people mean well, if if someone is coming to you, and I'm just going to kind of say this to everybody, if somebody is coming to you and sharing anything of their story, whether they're disclosing sexual abuse, even historical, or any type of domestic violence, the last thing they need is judgment. And I know that people often mean well, but they put themselves in the place, and if they haven't had the experience, it's easy to say, I would never. That wouldn't happen to me. Or, you know, oh, you've always been a pushover. Or, you know, the blame. And that will quiet somebody down faster than anything else. You need to hear them and hear their experience. There are so many barriers to getting help, to leaving. And if we look at housing right now, and that people are really scraping by with their paychecks, imagine yourself in a situation where even if you're in a good relationship and all of a sudden you're going to one income, what would your life look like? You know, that's one large barrier. Never mind if you are a newcomer and you have your community not supporting you in leaving your situations. Like, there are just so many things. And I think that for me, what's kept me in this job, because this is a high turnover position.
Hard work.
But you have to your cup needs to be filled up somehow. And for me, it's connection. It's being able to talk to somebody and let them really share their experience, and working with them about what does it look like for you to have a different life.
Well, and maybe we are seeing like higher, well, I think because women are maybe talking about it more, but there's a lot going on in the world right now, and COVID had a lot of impact, and probably abuse and being all, like, we weren't as crazy as some other areas, but being stuck inside, the financial stress, you could have had a really healthy relationship, and then, like you said, going down to one, and you're just fighting for human basic needs. Well, we're all working past what's like our human capacity. You know, we really are. People don't get the downtime to be able to take care of themselves. The pressures are super high. Okay, so let's talk about Thursday. So what are we trying to do on Thursday?
So Thursday, we have a ton of our partner organizations, local businesses, community members, City of Kelowna council members, just tons of people who have committed to take part already. And on Thursday, to wear purple, to share a photo to Instagram or Facebook, and just hashtag it Purple for Prevention, and tag our organization, tag Elizabeth Fry, and, you know, really share something about why are you passionate about women's safety in our community? Why do you care about women's safety and well-being? It can be sharing the smallest thing, and we really just want Thursday to be a flood of purple and a flood of support, so that, you know, the survivors of abuse we work with and women in our community are just seeing that there's support for them, really spreading awareness of our services. And also, of course, we're receiving donations through this campaign, which is extremely helpful for our services. Like, we have partial government funding, but every year we have a large gap that we need to fundraise for, so that people can access counseling, so that they can access victim services. These are all really critical resources, and, you know, we can't continue to hold them up unless our community steps forward and takes part and makes those donations and takes part in showing solidarity with us. So that's what we're asking everyone to do, is wear purple on Thursday.
And if you can, how do people donate? You have a donation spot on website?
Absolutely. Our website, efryokanagan.com, there's a donation button right there. There's a ton of information about the campaign. Through any of our social channels, through our Instagram page, there's a donation link right in the bio link. You can't miss it. And so it's very easy to make a donation. And you can choose your area of impact as well. If you want your donation to go specifically to counseling or to victim services, you can choose that way too.
Okay, well, ladies, thank you for being raw and authentic and sharing what you do. What Thursdays? What I'm excited to wear purple. I'm
Thank
gonna go buy a
you.
purple shirt. I don't think I own one. Hey, it doesn't have to be a shirt. It can be a dress. It can be whatever.
Absolutely.
Hats, ribbons.
We may have
Yeah.
shirts available next
Yeah.
year. Absolutely.
Did I miss asking you anything before we sign off? Or anything you want to leave the?
I mean, I think I would just say, you know, to leave people with that this is really life-changing work.
Mhm.
Like the work this organization does changes lives every day, and it's a huge thing. That's why we continue to do it. And so we're just grateful to be here
Mhm.
for the support and
Mhm.
yeah, for more people to know about this in our
Yeah.
community.
I think a lot of people, because the overarching of
Mhm.
Elizabeth Fry, depending on the area, have different focuses. So a lot of people don't realize what we do here in Kelowna, and they think that we are really focused on incarcerated women. So I would just encourage you to look at our website and learn the resources
Knowledge.
that are in your community for support.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can say as a survivor, I mean, ask me 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't be vocal about it or share about it. But I think what I can say as someone that has been abused, that, like you said, it's usually family members or friends you actually can't go to because they don't necessarily know how to handle it or sweep it under the rug kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I would say that if you are struggling with abuse or have been abused, and maybe it's a couple years ago, it eventually will come out. So why not go to someone that has no history of you, that is going to listen to you. So if you are sitting there struggling, these lovely ladies want to help you. So reach out. I mean, maybe it's just a conversation. Maybe you just do some counseling. Maybe it's a step. If you are stuck in an actual abusive relationship, maybe it's your first step to a better tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and to know you're not alone.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like you said, connections and talking with other women, or you build a community behind you. So
That's right.
Yeah.
So thank you again, ladies,
Yeah.
for coming in, and don't forget to
Thank
wear
you.
purple on Thursday.
Thank you so much.